من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين بسم الله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. As we prepare for our Umrah journey in April 2025, I would like to take advantage of the time that we have in hand towards educating ourselves and knowing all the essentials when it comes to performing the Umrah. Umrah, as we know, is a sacred journey that requires both spiritual and practical preparation. And this training is designed to equip us with essential knowledge to perform Umrah correctly and sincerely for the sake of Allah. And in this first session today, I would like to emphasize on the topic of seeking knowledge before any act of worship. So what we need to understand is before performing any act of worship, which could be salah, could be game, zakah, could be fasting in the month of Ramadan, performing Hajj and Umrah, we need to first seek the knowledge. And Imam Bukhari, rahimahullah, titled a chapter in his book, Babul Ilmi Qabla al-Qawli wal-Amal, which means the chapter of knowledge before speech and action. So what he emphasized in his book, that we need to have the knowledge before performing any act of worship, which in relation to speech and action. So let me give an example. For example, if somebody wants to pray, now praying is an act of worship. Somebody wants to do the salah, they want to do an act of worship. So before they get into the act of worship, they need to know in terms of speech what to say. And at the same time, they need to know what action they need to do. For example, if somebody wants to start the salah, they need to say Allahu Akbar. Okay, so they need to know as to what they need to say, Allahu Akbar, and at the same time they need to raise their hands. So this is an example for one salah. Now likewise, when we perform Umrah, we need to know exactly what to say, when to say, and what actions we need to do. Thus, knowledge is a duty before action. And the reason we are focusing so much on knowledge is such that Umrah is accepted by Allah. And this is why it is important that we prepare ourselves properly. Now, when we go and talk about Umrah, a lot of the time we find people who are going there for the first time, or people they are going there after a long gap. And without prior knowledge, one may miss an important pillar of the Umrah. And if that happens, mistakes can lead to invalidity of the Umrah, and that might require compensation. Now, if you look at any other acts of worship like salah, for example, one is not sure how many rak'ahs they have prayed. They do have an option to get it corrected, right? So let me give you a simple example. If one is not sure if they prayed 3 or 4, they go by the lesser amount, 3, and then they pray the extra rak'ah and do sajda suh. So that is okay when it comes to salah. When you look at the penalty, it's not that heavy. But when it comes to the act of Umrah, the penalty are quite severe in the sense that one has to give compensation, which is like a dam, which is like a life they need to sacrifice for the sake of Allah. And let me give you a common example. Somebody is going to Umrah and they are sleeping. They were sleeping in a plane and they crossed the Miqat point and they did not do their intention. What does that mean? That means now they have to give a dam. They have to give a life. So, which could be costly. If somebody makes a few mistakes in Umrah, then it would cost them a lot of money. This is the reason it is very important that we seek the knowledge now, well in advance, to ensure that we do not do any mistakes while in Umrah. And now coming on to the topic, is seeking knowledge important? Do we actually need to seek the knowledge? A lot of the time I find people not wanting to seek knowledge before going into Umrah. When you ask them, why aren't you seeking knowledge? Why aren't you looking at the things you need to do in terms of what to say and what action to do? They are like, once we get there, we'll think about it. Yes, that is, we can't say anything to anyone, but that's not the right approach. Before doing an act of worship, especially when it comes to Hajj and Umrah, we need to be more prepared. But this is something that we don't get to do that often. For some, it may be once in a lifetime. So it is very important that we make sure that we got the right knowledge in terms of how to perform it correctly. And looking at the importance of seeking knowledge, Allah mentioned in Quran in Surah Zumar, قُلْ هَلْ يَسْتَوِي الَّذِينَ يَعْلَمُونَ وَالَّذِينَ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ. Are those who equal to those who do not know? So what Allah is referring to here is the people who have knowledge and the people who don't have knowledge. Are they the same? Definitely not the same. So for example, if somebody is praying, doing their salah, knowing what they're saying in terms of Subhana Rabbiyal A'la, Subhana Rabbiyal Azim, Allahu Akbar, and somebody who doesn't have this knowledge and just doing it as they've been taught, do you think when it comes to connection, when it comes to the level of ibadah, is it going to be same? Definitely they're going to be different. So when let's look at our Umrah, for example, if we educate ourselves, we know exactly what to do and what to say, when to say it, how to do it, then that will have a bigger impact when it comes to us connecting to Allah. And we, in terms of our personal satisfaction, one could say to their own selves, I've tried my best. And also we know from the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, طلب العلم فريضة على كل Muslim. Seeking knowledge is an obligation upon every Muslim. It's something that is not about a choice, but it is something that one has to know, especially when it comes to a particular act of ibadah, as we have seen, as we have already discussed, that for example, if before one needs to pray, they need to know how to pray, and that knowledge becomes fard upon them, that they need to seek that knowledge before doing. So likewise, as we are going on Umrah, it is fard upon us that we seek the knowledge in terms of how to perform it. A lot of us might think that I've done it before and I know exactly how to do it. But we need to remind ourselves what Allah mentioned in the Quran, Surah Dhariyah, فَذَكِّرْ إِنَّ ذِكْرَ تَنْفَعُ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ, and remind them, verily the reminder benefits the believer. So from time to time, what I'm going to do till we get to the exact time of the Umrah, I will be sharing daily updates in the form of videos, text, pictures, and I request everyone to please read them carefully and do not take any information lightly. And of course, if you have any question and if you're not sure about what to do about something that I mentioned, then please feel free to ask me, and inshallah we'll try and understand how to do it correctly. To summarize the video today, the purpose of me emphasizing on seeking knowledge